You're Locked on the New York Rangers, your daily podcast on the New York Rangers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, Blue Shirts fans, to episode number 595 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Chick. Just want to thank you guys for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. That song you're hearing right now is, of course, Leave the Lights On from our good friends in Passafire. You can check those guys out anywhere you get your music. And today, it's do or die time once again for this New York Ranger team. They will be in Pittsburgh for Game 6 after an improbable, thrilling, come-from-behind win in Game 5 to stave off elimination. I'll say what I've continued to say, at least in the last episode or two here, that the Rangers, the only way that they're extending this to Game 7, I truly believe they have to play the absolute best game that they've played so far this series. I know that Game 5 was a ton of fun. They obviously came storming back, had a great rally, just dug deep, scored the 3 goals at the end of the second period, got the win, held off the Penguins late in the game. It was great. It was a lot of fun. We were all in a good mood, obviously, when that game ended, but I don't think that the Rangers are going to be able to get off to the type of start in Game 6 that they had in Game 5 and live to tell about it. And I think that's true whether or not Sidney Crosby plays or not. We'll talk a little bit more about him in a second. Before I go a second further, though, I should probably also acknowledge that if there's a little bit of dip in audio quality right now, it's because I'm actually recording this episode in my phone. I did not think I was going to have time to do a Friday episode, and instead I would just come back on Saturday, talk about whatever happens in Game 6, but trying to squeeze in an episode really quick here. Actually picking up my mom at the airport. She's meeting my 2.5-week-old daughter for the first time, so that's obviously going to be a lot of fun. Got a little extra time here, figured I'd just pull out the phone, record the episode. But I did want to talk about a couple of storylines, obviously, going into this game here. You've got, first of all, the lineup decisions that the Rangers are going to have to make here. Game 5 was interesting because the Rangers ended up going with 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. We already gave big-time kudos to Ryan Lindgren for gutting it out, coming back from his injury, playing great hockey. He really made a difference for the Rangers in that game. He was hitting people. He was blocking shots. He had the empty netter at the end of the game. More impressively than the empty netter, though, I think is just the fact that even though he's playing a little bit banged up, they still trust him in that spot as much or more than any defenseman on the New York Rangers. He was out there, with a minute left, less than a minute left, trying to, and ultimately succeeding at, protecting a 1-goal lead for the New York Rangers. So that was tremendously impressive. And as I said, when it happened, I don't think anybody was more deserving of getting the empty net goal than Ryan Lindgren. So that was obviously great to see. But what the Rangers did in that game, they obviously brought Lindgren back, but, perhaps with the thought that he might not be able to finish the game or they might have to severely limit his ice time. Like I said, the Rangers went with 7 defensemen in that game. Now, what ended up happening, Lindgren left the game briefly. I think it was toward the end of the first period, but he was back after not too much time. And the Rangers, and obviously this was the plan going in, they did not play Patrick Nemeth at all in this game. So obviously, as long as Ryan Lindgren held up and, didn't suffer an injury or a re-aggravation or whatever you want to call it, they were going to roll with the other 6 defensemen and just leave Nemeth on the bench. It was interesting because after the game, I went and I wanted to look at time on the ice because I didn't think Nemeth played at all. And then I saw that he was credited with 16 seconds on the ice. And I thought, well, that's weird. Like, when was he out there? And, why for just 16 seconds? And then I realized they actually put him out there after Ryan Lindgren's empty net goal at the end of the game. The Rangers were up 5-3 with just, 16 seconds left. They put him out there, which was actually a nice thing to do. At least he, gets to touch the ice for the end of the game there. But yeah, as far as this game goes, and, it gets even more complicated because Tyler Motte might be good to go in this game, which is a pleasant surprise. And here's kind of where I'm at with this. If Ryan Lindgren, if they feel like he's completely over his injury and there's little to no risk of him getting re-injured, then I would like to see the Rangers make Patrick Nemeth a healthy scratch, go back to 12 forwards and 6 defensemen, and just roll with Ryan Lindgren in his usual spot with Adam Fox, and then obviously Miller Trouba and Braun and Schneider. I think that's probably the way to go. And then by healthy scratching Patrick Nemeth, you make room to put Tyler Motte onto the ice. Motte could really help the Rangers in this game. I mean, when you think about what he brings to the table, very interesting skill set. Obviously, he's somebody who is a little bit of a buzzsaw and somebody who can really bring some value to the table, killing penalties. He's somebody that I think is just a pest to play against. And as we've seen with the Penguins, there are certain players on that team, and these are guys with multiple Stanley Cup championships to their name, but it is possible to get under their skin a little bit. We saw that a little bit with Evgeny Malkin. He was really losing his cool toward the end of Game 5, got into that big wrestling match with Ryan Lindgren, got into confrontation with Kevin Rooney near the bench, cross-checked him, it looked like up high, and obviously it's at least possible that the Rangers can get under their skin a little bit, and Tyler Motte's the type of player that can do that. The Rangers had a nice night on the penalty kill. In this most recent game, Game 5 against the Penguins, they look good. They killed off that 2-minute 5-on-3 at the start of the game. But, earlier in the series, the Penguins' power play had kind of been getting the better of the Rangers. I think at one point, before this most recent game, I want to say the Penguins were like 4 for 11 or like 3 for 11 or 3 for 10 on the power play, a good percentage. And, obviously the Ranger penalty kill not playing as well as we certainly know that they're capable of. But I really like the idea of Tyler Motte getting back into this lineup, getting back into this series here. And it's a welcome, news story that this is even being considered because, for a while there, we were hearing that Tyler Motte was only coming back into this lineup if the Rangers made a fairly deep run in the playoffs. And the first round isn't, even over yet. And it's at least possible that he's going to be out there. And like I said, I think he would be a welcome addition back into the lineup. I mean, we could talk about his skill set, and we already have. But another reason that I just like the fact that Motte could play tonight, this has been a physically, mentally, emotionally draining series. We had that triple overtime game in Game 1. It's gotten nasty out there at times. It's been nasty between the two fan bases. If you go on Twitter, there's just a lot going on right now. And I think that just having somebody fresh, and I might feel differently if it was like a 20-year-old rookie making his Stanley Cup playoff debut in Game 6 for the Rangers, a game that they absolutely must win on the road in order to keep their season alive. The reason I feel good about it, though, is Tyler Motte's played in the playoffs before. I believe he's got 17 Stanley Cup playoff games to his name, and I believe he's played, I have it written down here somewhere, I think like 360-something regular season games. So it's not like he's some fresh-faced rookie that doesn't know what he's doing. Tyler Motte, like I said, he's played in this league long enough that he can step into the middle of a playoff series and do a nice job. And on top of that, again, he just has fresh legs. I think that's going to be something that could really benefit the New York Rangers for sure. Just having somebody who is, ready to go and a little bit fresh and somebody who can make a difference in a lot of different aspects of the game. I think if he's healthy and you don't have any fear of Ryan Lindgren getting himself injured again, then Patrick Nemeth has to be the odd man out, especially considering he didn't even play in the most recent game, despite, dressing for the game. But in a perfect world for me, Ryan Lindgren plays. He's back with Adam Fox, as always, and Tyler Motte slots back into the lineup. You go with 12 forwards and 6 defensemen. Motte is on the fourth line alongside Kevin Rooney and Ryan Reeves. Now, if the Rangers still have some concern as far as, possibly Ryan Lindgren getting injured again, and you feel like you have to go with 7 defensemen because you don't want to be caught in a situation where Ryan Lindgren re-aggravates his injury 5 minutes into the game, and then he's out for the rest of the game, and you got to go with 5 defensemen against this Penguins team from that point on. I certainly don't think you want to be in a situation like that. So if that's the case, then I suppose what you would do is probably dress 7 defensemen just like you did in the last game. I know Nemeth hasn't been great, but he's a little bit of an insurance policy if Ryan Lindgren gets injured and once again cannot go back into the game. And you also put Motte back in if he's good to go. And as far as who the healthy scratch would be at that point, I think it would almost have to be Ryan Reeves. I don't think they're going to healthy scratch Kevin Rooney, and I don't think anybody else is even really an option. You're not going to bench anybody on the kids line. You're certainly not going to bench anybody on your top 6. So I think at that point, it'd probably be Ryan Reeves that's the odd man out. But like I said, in a perfect world, Tyler Motte comes back, Patrick Nemeth is a healthy scratch, and the Rangers roll with the 12 forwards and the 6 defensemen. Going to talk a little bit in just a second here about, the Sidney Crosby situation, some news surrounding Igor Shesterkin, and just some general thoughts on Game 6 tonight.
Today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Built Bar. Imagine dipping your finger into that plastic tub of birthday cake frosting and then opening your eyes and realizing that it was only 150 calories and 16 grams of protein. That is what it is like to eat a birthday cake puff from Built. I just received my birthday cake puffs, and I have never had anything like this before. They're available right now, and we can't promise that they will be there tomorrow, so go get them today at Built.com. Make every day your birthday with Built's Birthday Cake Puffs. With 150 calories, 16 grams of protein, and only 9 grams of sugar, this limited-time flavor is an amazing option if you are looking for a healthy way to get flavor and variety in your day. All Built Puffs are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means that with Built, you can eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. And they are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Go to Built.com to get birthday cake puffs right now. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms.
All right, so as of this recording, no official word on Sidney Crosby getting back into the lineup. But like I said in the intro, I think that, if the Rangers are going to win this game, my point still stands. They have to play their absolute best game that they've played so far in this series. You can't, just see that Sidney Crosby's not in the lineup and think, oh, we got a free pass, we got an easy win. It's not going to be that easy. The Penguins' top line has been tremendous in this series, and the Penguins have obviously played some really good hockey. I do think the NHL made the right decision not disciplining Jacob Trouba. I mean, he was going for the puck. I know it looks bad when the elbow kind of goes up and catches Crosby in the head, but I don't think that was intentional. I don't think, Trouba went toward him thinking, oh man, I'm going to just drive my head right through his dome here and try to concuss this guy. And we don't even know for sure that it is a concussion, but I'm just saying, I don't think that was Trouba's intent on the play. And if Crosby plays, look, obviously that just makes this task even more difficult because, during this series, playing in Pittsburgh, that's been the house of pain for the Rangers. Igor Shesterkin was pulled out of both of the preceding 2 games in Pittsburgh. One thing, though, that I like, as far as where the Rangers are right now, is there aren't any, there's nothing that's going to catch them by surprise, I don't think, playing this game in Pittsburgh. And, you go in there for Games 3 and Game 4. This is a tremendously young New York Ranger team. Many of them are playing in the playoffs for the first time. Then there's another group of players that, they played that 3-game series against the Hurricanes in the bubble, a couple years ago, the COVID season. But that wasn't the true blue Stanley Cup playoff experience for sure. And blink and you missed it. I mean, the Rangers were out of the playoffs so fast that year, it was ridiculous. But now, you've played the 2 games in Pittsburgh. I don't think this can possibly go any worse than Games 3 and Games 4 did, especially Game 4. Game 4 was an absolute train wreck. I think the Rangers, they know what they're in for. This is going to be a hostile environment. They're going to be making a ton of noise. You're going to get the Iiiiiiiiigor chants. We know that that's coming for sure. I just think that, the Rangers are due to play a good road game. They've been a good road team all season. They were slightly better at home, but one thing I like about this team is that there wasn't that much of a discrepancy from their home record compared to their away record. And so, for those reasons, I think, again, the Rangers are just kind of due here. Something else, I think the power play is due for a big night. The Rangers started, I would say Game 5 was probably the Rangers' best night on the power play. They only went 1 for 3. I mean, I say only. I mean, that is a 33% success rate. And if you went 33%, you would certainly lead the league in that stat. Nobody, scores at a 33% clip on the power play for an entire season. But again, I just feel like they're on the verge of a breakout. They score on the 1 power play goal, and they look dangerous on the other 2 opportunities as well. So if the Rangers can, start fast in this game, start quite a bit faster than they started in the other 2 games against the Penguins, then I think it certainly bodes well. Maybe the Penguins take an early couple of penalties, and you have a situation where the Rangers are on the power play, which would obviously be a good thing. It's been a strength of their team all season, and something that you got to figure they're going to need at some point here before it's all said and done. If they're going to come back and win this series, then certainly, the power play and the special teams units are going to have to step up, because through the first 5 games, that's an area where the Penguins clearly had the advantage. And it's not an area where I expected the Penguins to have the advantage. The Rangers have been great on the power play and on the kill all season. So I was expecting more of the same in this series, and hopefully we get that from Game 5 onward. The other thing, I've been heaping praise on Kakko and Lafreniere and Heedle. Whatever happens in this series, and obviously we all want the Rangers to win, and it's certainly something that's in reach. It's not going to be easy, but, they're still alive here. They got the big win in Game 5, and they've got a chance here in Game 6. All 3 of those players are coming of age before our very eyes. I think my favorite shift of the New York Rangers postseason so far is the shift at the end of Game 5. You had Kakko, Lafreniere, and Heedle on the ice. There's less than 3 minutes to go. The Penguins are obviously desperate at this point. They're down by a goal. And Kakko, Heedle, and Lafreniere just would not give up possession of the puck. I mean, Heedle and Lafreniere both chipped in a little bit, but Kakko more than anybody. I mean, he was so strong on the boards here. He's going this way. He's going that way. He's spinning off of guys. He's protecting the puck. They eventually pin him against the boards. He still won't give up the puck. He gets it loose again. Just a tremendous shift there, and just, a big-time coming-of-age storyline developing for that kid line here. Whatever happens the rest of this playoff series, I really feel like this is the moment where we're going to look back at some point and say, Kakko, Lafreniere, and Heedle, this is where these guys really ended up turning the corner here, really end up coming into their own in this league. I mean, it's easy to forget. I know the expectations are sky high. Lafreniere, number 1 overall pick. Kakko, number 2 overall pick. Heedle, a first-round draft pick. The expectations, they are what they are. They come with the territory. But this could be the point where, we really look back and say that's where these guys really, really just took off and became big-time NHL players.
Today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by BetOnline.net. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. And just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms.
Something else that I was watching the post game in Game 5, and Steve Valiquette was obviously talking about, everything that had just happened. And he mentioned that the Rangers, they might be still more comfortable in the underdog role. And there could be something to that. The Rangers, if you look at our friends at BetOnline, I'm almost positive when this series started, it was basically a pick'em. Both teams had the same odds as far as, ultimately winning this series. And it's easy to see why. The Rangers were a little bit better in the regular season. They beat the Penguins 3 out of 4, and they have home ice advantage. But by that same token, you got this Pittsburgh Penguin team that has kind of been there and done that. They got the veterans. They got all the Stanley Cup champions on their team. It's a team that, they know that the window is closing. It's very possible that at least one of the two of Malkin or Letang is no longer a Pittsburgh Penguin after this season. So for that trio that's been there for so long, this is kind of their last chance. And they're going to play, obviously, some desperate hockey. And like I said, they have the experience advantage. But yeah, I think it made sense to kind of make this a pick'em going in, and we'll see what ends up happening here. Obviously, the Rangers have their work cut out for them still. A lot of work to do. You can't tell me Penguins fans aren't at least a little bit nervous at this point. Nobody forgot 2014, I don't think. The Rangers were down 3-1, and obviously these teams are very, very different from what they were back then. Chris Kreider's the only Ranger still on the team from back then, but the Rangers, they've made a habit out of this, coming back from the 3-1, and this is obviously crunch time tonight, going back on the road where you've basically been obliterated in the other two games. But like I said, I just feel like the Rangers are due to play a really strong road game. Hopefully they can take an early lead. Wouldn't it be nice if the Rangers could just win this game 7-1 and none of us would have to sweat it out? Wouldn't that just be, the ultimate gift for all of us here tonight? Game 5, obviously, we were definitely sweating it out. It looked like they were dead in the water, came back and won it. But obviously, season on the line again tonight, but I feel good about this one, guys. I really do. The only other thing that I wanted to talk about here today, and this is going to be a shorter episode than most, because like I said, I'm literally just waiting to pick up my mom at the airport right now, and then she's going to come meet our baby daughter. So obviously looking forward to that and looking forward to this game tonight as well. I did want to at least mention the fact that Igor Shesterkin has been named one of the finalists for the Vezina, because obviously I think he's basically a slam dunk to win that one. He has also been named one of the 3 finalists for the Hart Trophy, along with Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid. And that's a trophy that could go to any of the 3 of them. I'll have more details on that going forward. I'm not going to spend too much time on it today, because as Ranger fans, I don't think we're thinking about individual awards right now. We're all locked into Game 6 and what's going to happen between the Rangers and the Penguins tonight. But yeah, Igor Shesterkin, one of the 3 finalists. My hope here is that since Igor's the one goalie, and again, it's not common that a goalie wins the Hart Trophy, but he's the only goalie that's up for this. He's up against Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid. Both of them were so good this season. How do you pick one or the other between Matthews or McDavid? So my hope here is that maybe the 2 of them end up taking some votes away from each other. It's at least possible that could happen, and then maybe Igor Shesterkin ends up being named your Hart Trophy winner. And that would obviously be a tremendous story. I think we were all pretty bullish on Igor Shesterkin coming into this season, but to see him actually win the Hart Trophy and MVP, I don't know that anybody could have possibly seen that coming. One other thing I did want to talk about here. no lead is safe in this series. So nobody, Rangers or Penguins, should get too comfortable, no matter how big of a lead is built up. We saw in Game 1, the Rangers had a 2-0 lead. They ended up losing that. They obviously lost under very controversial circumstances, but they still did lose the game. You had a situation in Game 3 where the Penguins were up 4-1. The Rangers came back and tied that one. So, the Penguins ended up winning, but obviously that lead was not safe either. Then in Game 5, the Penguins were up 2-0. Rangers came back and won that one. So it's just been a wild series. It's been, like I said, very emotionally draining kind of series, I think, for both fan bases. Everybody's at each other's throats on Twitter. And, we're not done yet. I'm very, very excited for this game tonight. Like I said, this is always going to be a little bit of a shorter episode than most. So I am going to call this one just a little bit early here, but like I said, let's go Rangers. Season on the line once again tonight. I have a good feeling about this one. It's not going to be easy, but Rangers, they're going to lay it all on the line tonight, and hopefully we get the kind of effort that we got toward the end of the second period in Game 5 through the third period, because that's what it's going to take for the Rangers to win this game and force a Game 7. But that will pretty much do it for today, guys. Once again, if you'd like to get in touch with this podcast, please send an email to lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Once again, that is lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com, and definitely give us a follow on Twitter as well, @LO_NY_Rangers. Once again, that is @LO_NY_Rangers. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time. Thanks for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. In our next episode, we're going to be talking about everything that happens between the Rangers and Penguins in Game 6. Now make your second listen Locked On NHL.